Everyone, boy Matt, 8th of July 2026. Australia and the United States have quite different political systems. Oh, that hair's looking nasty. Alright, we're good now. Look, yeah, Australia and the United States are different kinds of democracy. Okay. Australia is is a shit ton more democratic than the United States. I need to express that. We're more similar to countries such as countries in Europe, the United Kingdom, and Canada. In Australia, the way it works is that we have compulsory voting. We have election districts which are defined by a government department rather than by local committees. And this means that our electoral districts are more representative of the cultural groups who live there. And this means that when we have elections, we have a whole lot of swing seats. We have a whole lot of states, we have a whole lot of seats in our parliament which are always contested. And we've had a lot of instances where previous candidates who won on large majorities then find that they've been ousted by a new candidate who's just come in, even in seats which have been considered safe seats which have been held by the same political party for decades. We do have safe seats in Australia, but there aren't very many of them. Okay? In the United States, most of the seats you have in your Congress and Senate are in districts which are rigged such that only one candidate can potentially win. You have there's a lot of systematic problems with the nature of American democracy. And this means that American democracy truly only is a democracy in the sense that it allows a transition of party or person who's running the government without violence. That is the extent of American democracy. American democracy is not democratic in that the people get to say or advocate for their needs. There's a very small amount of that in the scheme of things in the United States. In countries like Australia and most of Europe and the United Kingdom, so all those countries that we see in the Western world, we have responsible government. Your vote at the bottom ends up in some kind of influence with the person at the top, okay? In the United States, instead, you've got these two oligarchical parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, who are just it's almost like two families, okay? Like our political parties, they're cliquey, they've got party leadership and things like this. But in the United States, it's just two big oligarchies. It's two competing oligarchies rather than two democratic parties. And this means that the strategies that a person in Australia uses for politics, which are useful, are different than in the United States. So a lot of the tools that I use are similar tools to what Trump has used. I'm intentionally polarizing. I don't shy away from things. This is a similar strategy that Dutton tried to use. So Peter Dutton was our previous opposition leader, and he was the last candidate for Prime Minister from the Liberal Party. And he lost an election spectacularly against the Australian Labor Party, because what he did is he tried to run a Trump-style election. He did this big thing on nuclear power. He intentionally promoted these very divisive policies which weren't costed and didn't make a lot of sense, but they were things that he knew would create division within Australia, a polarization. This means you have two people fighting. This means you get a base. But that strategy only works in countries where there isn't compulsory voting with elections. Okay? In Australia, because we have compulsory voting, what happens is that everyone who listens to these dumb fucking ideas ends up rolling out and being like, uh, yeah, don't do that. That doesn't make sense. We have a whole lot of experts saying otherwise, and it's just so clear you're acting like a numpty. And what ended up happening in Australia is that the Australian Liberal Party, which is our version of the Republican Party, lost our election so badly that their party may never exist in the future. Imagine the Republican Party going extinct, okay? This is a real possibility in Australia, right? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and that would actually be a bad thing. And I'm saying this as someone on the left, right? We need the Liberals around. We need them to be a voice for people with a more conservative temperament and a voice for people who are associated with business and are wealthy, okay? If we don't have those in an institution which has been tamed down, which is relatively tame like the Liberal Party, you're going to end up with those voters and those people finding representation in a likely more unhinged set of candidates, okay? There are far worse things than skilled conservative leadership. Remembering that I'm nothing, there's nothing about me which is conservative. But returning to my point, in the United States, because you don't have compulsory voting, to get people out to vote is the most important thing. And that just means you need to get people exceedingly passionate. And you get people exceedingly passionate by making them very scared, very angry, and you get them fighting things rather than deliberating on things, right? So the only kind of conversation which is possible in American media is one where people are yelling at each other, okay? Because this is the only way which you're going to be able to maintain the attention of the public enough to inspire people to vote, okay? You need to draw upon these very aggressive approach emotions in the United States to get to get elected, okay? In Australia, in most European countries and the United Kingdom, there is the ability to have a more for kind of intellectual, or at least just like, I don't know, normal conversation about things. It is possible for people in Australia, like Australian citizens, to hear a couple of snippets of information on Triple J or on 7 News and then come to a slightly more informed decision than if they had no information at all, and then roll up to the ballot box and then advocate for themselves in a way where their interests are at least accounted for, okay? I'm saying this because I wanted to highlight this because I am used as sort of an analogy for Trump. Okay, I'm not an analogy for Trump. I studied Trump. He's a phenomenon, right? He's done some very smart things. He's done some incredibly fucking dumb things. Oh my God, that guy's done a whole lot of dumb things. But he's a phenomenon, and he got to where he is because he did the series of behaviors required to be where he is, okay? He is very much an American phenomenon. He is a product of the American Constitution and the American political system. And he is a symbol of the American people. And I'm sorry to say that, but he is the representation for your Constitution and what it can produce. And that is something that Americans will need to remember, that this is what the world knows you are like, and you know you are like, and it's not intended to be, how do I put this, demeaning to Americans. It's meant, we're trying to say that he is a truly American creation. And that's something, and I would say that I'm probably in Australia and internationally what you could be considered a truly Australian creation as well. It's been interesting watching the cultural differences play out and the different things which are being created by our different people. Right, have a good one.